My dear students, we have discussed theoretical perspectives, the three important perspectives in sociology. We have discussed structural functionalism, we have discussed conflict perspective, and we have briefly discussed symbolic interactionism. I will quickly review them. Structural functionalism assumes that society is like a machine, that it has different parts, each part contributes toward the whole. That part is called, that contribution of part for the whole is called function, and society remains in a state of equilibrium. So the chief task of a sociologist, according to functionalism, is to understand the functions of parts. So if, for example, we have to discuss a functionalist perspective on education, then we will see how education contributes toward social equilibrium. What are the functions of education? This is how functionalist perspective can be applied to the institution of education. So, similar, we will today discuss how these three perspectives can be applied. Conflict perspective assumes that society is composed of different groups which have different interests and their interests clash. So there is a conflict in society, and this order, which is usually present, is basically created by the dominant group or dominant classes which exploit the other classes. So the exploitation and we can say domination are the key words of conflict perspective. And when they study any institution, they see how exploitation is going on within that institution or through that institution for the whole of society. Third perspective is symbolic interactionism. This perspective is very different from the first two perspectives. The first two perspectives, although different from one another, from each other, they have they share their macro sociology. They are macro sociology. They study society at large scale. The third perspective studies society at small scale. Communications and the symbols generated in the communication between individuals who have uh, who are performing some role in a given structure. So the third perspective basically emphasizes the symbols generated and the dynamics of relationship between individuals of a particular social situation. So this is a micro level perspective. So let's apply these three perspectives as an example to another point you need to know is the concept of social institution. Although we will discuss it in detail later on, but for today's lecture, you should know that a social institution is something like a system, like we have digestive system in the organism. So social institution is composed of different norms and values and cultural traits. We will discuss it in detail later on. So it is composed of different roles, different people, uh, and it is a huge structure, and it is integrated, and and it serves certain purposes. It has several functions. So like family is a social institution, education is a social institution, politics is a social institution, economics similarly, entertainment, social media these days, and the media overall, all these are social institutions. So let's apply these three perspectives on, for example, medicine. Health and medicine is a social institution. It is composed of several hospitals and the governmental machinery and the medical colleges and even homeopathy and hikmat and allopathy and pharmaceutical corporations. All this huge structure is basically health and medicine. So how we can apply these three perspectives to health and medicine, or we can say how these three perspectives can help us in understanding this institution. So let's apply functionalist perspective. If we apply functionalist perspective on health and medicine, so functionalist sociologist would be interested in understanding in understanding what would be the functions of health and medicine, how doctors and hospitals would contribute toward health. So what would be the positive consequences for society? So now you can think of what are the positive consequences of the huge structures of hospital and corporations, and so it is necessary for the life, for the quality life of people, and it is necessary for the population, of course, the health of population. So we can imagine the line on which functional sociologists would work further. Then we will apply conflict perspective. How conflict perspective would be able to study health and medicine. They would be more interested in how, for example, different class structures have different health facilities. There are hospitals which are only for rich people, and how the private hospitals are different and they have good quality services, health services for the upper classes, and the lower classes usually go to public hospitals which are not in a very good shape. So all this class difference in the health facilities can be studied by conflict perspective. They can also study, conflict sociologists, how exploitation is going on, how pharmaceutical corporations particularly monopolize particular medicine, and a very cheap medicine which is basically I mean its origin, its raw material, its salt is very cheaper, but its formula, as it is monopolized by a particular company, they have made it very expensive. And how they, for example, they can bribe the doctors, and how the nexus between corporations, pharmaceutical corporations, and physicians can ultimately lead to exploitation of the patients. So all this line of research can be taken by the conflict sociologist. Third perspective is symbolic interactionism. They would be more interested in studying the relationship between doctor and patient, and for example, how they interact with one another, what kind of language they use, what is the relationship, what is the pattern of relationship. And for example, in a hospital there is administration and paramedical staff, and then there is a doctors there. So how the relationship between ms of hospital and the professors and the junior doctors, how this relationship basically work together. And at micro level, what are the conflicts? So conflicts at micro level can be studied by third perspective, right, which is symbolic interactionism. So this is just an example. You can now practice and think, and you should learn how to apply these three perspectives on different social institutions. So thank you very much. We will be starting a new topic in the next lecture. Thank you very much.